Hello everybody! If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 513, A Journey of Courage. Intermediate. In a small dusty village in England there lived a young man named Tom. His clothes were old and torn, and his shoes had holes that let in the rain. Tom lived in a tiny room above a noisy pub, where he worked washing dishes for a few coins each day. Life was hard, but Tom had a dream. He wanted to own a bakery, filling the streets with the warm smell of fresh bread. Tom's parents had died when he was young, leaving him with nothing but a kind heart and a strong will. Every night, after cleaning the pub's greasy pots, he sat by a flickering candle and read books about baking. He borrowed these books from Mrs. Green, the village librarian, who saw something special in Tom's bright eyes. One day, a poster appeared in the village square. It announced a baking competition in London, with a grand prize of £10,000. Tom's heart raced. This could be his chance. But the journey to London cost money, and Tom had none. He worked extra hours, saved every penny, and even sold his only coat to buy a train ticket. When the day came, Tom boarded the train with a small bag and a nervous smile. In London, the competition was held in a huge hall filled with the best bakers from across England. Tom felt small among them. His hands shook as he mixed flour, water, and yeast. He had no fancy tools, just an old wooden spoon and a recipe he'd created himself, a soft golden loaf with herbs from the village fields. The judges tasted every bread. Hours passed and Tom's stomach twisted with worry. Finally, the head judge, a stern woman with silver hair, stood up. "The winner," she said, "is Tom Harper for his simple yet extraordinary herb loaf." The crowd cheered, and Tom's eyes filled with tears. He had done it. With the prize money, Tom opened a small bakery in his village. He called it Harper's Hearth. At first, business was slow. People in the village were used to buying cheap bread from the market, but Tom worked hard. He woke at dawn to bake, greeted every customer with a smile, and gave free loaves to those who couldn't pay. Word spread about his delicious bread, and soon people came from miles away. Tom hired helpers, expanded the bakery, and even started teaching baking classes to children. He never forgot his days of struggle. Every month he donated bread to the poor and shared his story to inspire others. "Hard work and kindness can change your life," he told them. Years later, Harper's Hearth became a famous name. Tom, once a poor dishwasher, now owned a chain of bakeries across England. He lived in a comfortable house, but his favourite place was still his first bakery, where he kneaded dough and laughed with his team. Mrs. Green, now old and frail, visited often, sipping tea and saying, "I knew you'd do it, Tom." One quiet evening, as Tom watched the sunset from his bakery's doorstep, he smiled. He had built more than a business. He had built a life of purpose, proving that dreams, hard work, and kindness could turn rags into riches. Vocabulary notes. Flickering. Adjective. Definition. Burning or shining with a light that changes in strength, often unsteady or wavering. Example: every night after cleaning the pub's greasy pots, he sat by a flickering candle and read books about baking. New example sentence: the flickering campfire cast shadows on the trees during the chilly night. Similar words: glimmering, adjective, a soft faint light that shines unsteadily. Example: the glimmering stars were barely visible through the clouds. Twinkling, adjective, shining with a sparkling intermittent light, often associated with stars. Example: her twinkling eyes showed her excitement. Flashing, adjective, giving off sudden bright bursts of light. Example, the flashing neon sign attracted customers to the shop. Stern adjective. Definition: serious, strict, or severe in manner or appearance, often showing disapproval. Example, finally, the head judge, a stern woman with silver hair, stood up. New example sentence. The stern teacher demanded silence during the exam. Similar words. Strict adjective. Enforcing rules firmly, often inflexible. Example, the strict coach made the team practice for hours. Serious adjective, showing deep thought or solemnity, not smiling. Example, his serious expression made everyone listen carefully. Severe adjective, very strict or harsh, sometimes overly so. Example, the severe punishment surprised the students. Loaf, noun. Definition: a single shaped mass of bread baked as one piece. Example, he had no fancy tools, just an old wooden spoon and a recipe he'd created himself, a soft golden loaf with herbs from the village fields. New example sentence, she baked a fresh loaf of sourdough for the family dinner. Similar words. Bread, noun. A general term for food made from flour and water, baked in various forms. Example, he bought bread from the local bakery. Roll, noun. A small individual portion of bread. Example, the restaurant served warm rolls with butter. Baguette, noun. A long, thin loaf of French bread. Example, she carried a baguette under her arm from the market. Kneaded verb, past tense of need. Definition: to work dough by pressing, folding and stretching it with the hands to make it smooth and elastic. Example, he lived in a comfortable house, but his favourite place was still his first bakery, where he kneaded dough and laughed with his team. New example sentence, she kneaded the dough until it was soft and ready to bake. Similar words. Mixed verb, to combine ingredients together, often by stirring. Example, he mixed the flour and water to start the dough. Worked verb, a general term for handling or shaping something, like dough. Example, the baker worked the clay-like dough with strong hands. Moulded verb, to shape something, often with care, into a specific form. Example, she moulded the dough into perfect round buns. Purpose, noun. Definition: the reason for doing something or the intention behind an action, a sense of determination or meaning. Example, he had built more than a business, he had built a life of purpose, proving that dreams, hard work and kindness to turn rags into riches. New example sentence, finding a purpose in life gave her the motivation to keep going. Similar words. Goal, noun. A specific aim or objective to achieve. Example, his goal was to open a cafe in the city. Mission, noun. A strongly felt purpose or duty, often with a sense of importance. Example, her mission was to help children learn to read. Aim, noun. A desired outcome or intention, often less formal than a goal. Example, his aim was to make people smile with his food. Story written by Grok 3 AI. Image created by Grok 3 AI. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you.